Hola amigos, bienvenidos. On today's lesson on the Language Tutor, I want to talk to you about something that's very foundational and fundamental in learning any languages, and that is how to spell it and write it correctly. Now, I hear students all the time, even Spanish-speaking students, that tell me, you know, I can speak Spanish, but I don't write it. I can't write it or I can't read it. And so I always tell them, yes, you can. With just a little bit of help, yes, you can. And you can too. So today I want to go over just some fundamental elements of how to write correctly in Spanish. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is the easy part of Spanish is that you write it exactly like it sounds. You listen to the sounds and you put those on paper. Okay? It's very much an easy process. So we're going to go over about 5 or 6 words today just to sort of show you what I'm talking about. All right? Now, I want to start with a very basic word, and I'm not going to put this on the board yet, but I want you just to think about it. In a previous video, we talked about the alphabet in Spanish, and we talked about how the vowels are about 90% of being able to pronounce Spanish correctly like a native speaker. It's the same thing for writing and for reading as well. So think about this word. The word that I want to use at the very beginning is a simple word. It's the word for book, and that word is libro, libro. Now, let's break down that sound. We're hearing the L sound, so we know what that is. It's the same in English. So we know our first letter is going to be an L. Now, here's where sometimes we get a little confused because we hear the sound li, e, and a lot of times I catch my students going, oh, that's the letter E. But no, it's not. Remember what an E sounds like? An E sounds like eh. So we got to think, what letter sounds like E? And of course, that is the letter I. So li is simply the L-I. First 2 letters in the word, li, L-I. Now, of course, we know the B is going to be the same in Spanish and English, B. So that's going to be a B. And so we put the B as a 3rd letter, pretty easy. Now, libro, bro, ra. We've got a flap there. Think about what letter of the alphabet did we say is a flap? Ra, ra. You got it. It's the letter R. So that ra sound is going to be R. And then, of course, we ended it with O, and there's only one letter in Spanish that sounds like O, and that's the letter O. So libro, if we just simply break down those sounds, we can spell it effectively in Spanish. Now, let's look at another one. I'm going to use the word for flag in Spanish, and that word is bandera, bandera. So break it down slowly. Bandera, bandera. All right, we know that B sound is a B, A is A, right? Because that's the only letter in Spanish that makes the A sound. So we're saying ban, ban. Obviously, that's a B-A-N. De, de. Now remember that D, we push it forward a little bit. So bande. But now ask yourself, what makes the E sound? You got it. It's the letter E. So bande. So now we have B-A-N-D-E. And then ra, ra. There again is that flap. We know that's an R. And then at the end, we're left with the very last sound of A, bandera. All right, so that would make an A. So B-A-N-D-E-R-A. Again, we're just spelling this exactly like it sounds. All right, let's take another one. Let's take the word, I say this often, sometimes when I start a lesson, I say, make sure you have your cuaderno, your notebook. All right, so let's take the word cuaderno, cuaderno. First of all, let's start with that qu sound, qu. Now, the qu sound in Spanish is never going to be a Q. That's how we do it in English, but we do not do a qu with a Q in Spanish. Remember, a Q is always going to have a U, and it's going to sound like a K. So remember that rule, QU equals K, QU equals K. I have my students learn that because anytime you're going to say the QU, it's going to come out like a K. Now, that leaves us with only 2 options of how to say the qu, qu. Now, we know from our lesson on the alphabet that K is a part of the alphabet, but we don't really ever use it, right? So now we're only left with one letter that can give us the k, k sound. So we know that's going to be the letter C. Now the letter C is going to make that k sound in front of certain vowels, and in front of certain vowels it's going to be a s. So in front of a C, E, it would be s. If it's a C, I, it would be s. But now if it's an A or an O or a U, it's going to be a k sound. All right, so let's think about that sound now. Ku, ku. Think about, we know the C is making the k sound. What's making the oo sound? It can only be one thing. You got it. It's the letter U. Ku. Now, listen to the next part. Kua. Cuaderno. So we're going oo and then ah. So just think about it. We got to go oo, ah. So we know C-E-U. And then what? Ah. That's right, the letter A. So we have C-U-A is the only way in Spanish to make that cua sound. Now we've got de, cuade. We hear that D sound, although it's a little bit more forward in our mouth. And then we've got e. And of course, that's not the letter A. We know that A sounds like ah. It can only be the letter E. That's the only one that makes that sound. So D-E, cuade. Now, let's do the next part. Der, there's that flap again, the R. So C-U-A-D-E-R, and then we simply end it with no, N-O. And now we have the word cuaderno. All right, let's take just a couple more. Let's take the number 40, cuarenta, cuarenta, just as another little example of that sound. The cua, C-U-A, we know that's making the qua sound. Renta, renta, R-E-N-T-A. So we're just spelling it exactly like it sounds, okay? Now, I want to use a word that I know you've probably all heard before, and that is quiero. Quiero. We've even seen that on certain commercials. Quiero. All right. Now we're starting with the quiero sound. We know it's not a K. All right. So that's only going to leave a couple of options. Quiero. Now what's making that E sound? It really can only be one thing, the letter I. So let's think about what if we put the letter C in front of that? Because we know a C can sound like a K sometimes. What would happen? It would totally change the word, wouldn't it? Because a C in front of an I sounds like S. So nope, can't be the C. We got to throw that out. So that only leaves us one option to make the K sound, and that's the Q. Now, remember that a Q will never be by itself in Spanish, ever. It always must have the letter U with it. They cannot be separated. Now, the U can go off and do its own thing. It can go in other words and be by itself, but Q cannot survive without U. They have to go together. So now we got QU. All right, so we've established the K sound. E, letter I, Ki. Now we've got the beginning of the word. Now we've just got to put the ero, E, there's the flap again, R, O. So here we go, quiero. We got it now. All right, one more, let's do one more. I want to use the word hacienda, hacienda. A lot of us have heard that word before, hacienda. Here's an exception to the rule. You always spell Spanish like it sounds, but H's are silent, okay? So I've seen some of my Spanish speaker students, when they spell, they might write a word with an H, like hablar, to speak, and they'll start it with an A, just because they don't know yet that has an H on it. This is one of those things where you just have to know. You just have to study. Sometimes we have to study a little bit. And so you have to know that the word hacienda has an H on it, okay? It's silent, we don't say it, but it's got to be there in the spelling. Okay, so that's the letter A, I, C. Okay, again, you got to know it's a C, not an S. It's one of those things, you're learning the word, you just kind of pick up the spelling. Little tips for the spelling. Hacienda, hacienda. So H-A-C-I-E-N-D-A. All right, so for the most part, we can just spell Spanish exactly like it sounds. But again, there's always those one or two little things you got to pick up as you go along, okay? All right, guys, make sure you practice all that. And think of some words in Spanish, practice spelling them, and then check yourself. I bet before long, you're going to be spelling just like an expert, all right? Friends, thanks for watching The Language Tutor. If you have a question for me, feel free to leave it in the comment section below the video. And please click subscribe and the notification bell so that you'll never miss any of our language lessons.